Fear is our body's reaction to a real or perceived threat. And in one of our earliest videos, we already discussed the 4 classical responses to fear. Those are fight, flight, freeze, or faint. Now, this video, we really want to look at what happens inside your body and how you can get yourself out of these different responses. And just to be clear, fear is not something you can think yourself out of because it originates from a physiological process. And since what happens, for example, in the fight or flight mode is different from what happens inside your body in freeze or faint mode, for example, the response to get out of it and what you should do is also slightly different. Katie Hendricks of the Foundation for Conscious Living, who also holds a PhD in transpersonal psychology, has developed the 4 so-called fear methods to deal with the classical responses to fear. And she explains that if you want to melt, freeze, in that case, you wiggle. If you want to melt, fight, you go for oozing. If you want to melt away, flee, in that case, you sumo. And if you want to melt, faint, in that case, you give yourself love scoops. Now, let's dive in. So, if you feel stuck, you feel like you're unable to move, and you feel like a deer facing headlights, really, in that case, you're probably in freeze mode. So you can wiggle your way out of it. Start by gently wiggling your fingers and your toes. Then make sure that the hips and your shoulders also get some wiggle action. And finally, make sure that you start wiggling your core at a pace that feels comfortable to you. Do you feel defensive, frustrated, feel like you're a bit short fused and you just want to erupt and fight back in a super defensive mode? Then you're probably in fight mode right now. So what do? You ooze. So you ooze as if you were chocolate going off a spoon. So you just gently ooze your shoulders and your body in a rhythm that feels good to you. And also slow the rhythm of speech. Lower your voice to really let the fight ooze out of your body. Are you nervous, anxious, or distant? Do you feel like you've got to go? Are you trying to get out of it and avoiding it? Then you're probably in flee mode. So, in order to confront that, go for the sumo stance. So pretend to be a sumo wrestler and widen your stance on the floor. Get your knees in a bended position and lean with your hands on your knees. And then stand like that really firmly and solidly and try to do your best sumo wrestler impression. And if that's a bit too much for you, you can also go for the yoga-inspired mountain. So you stand really firmly on the ground and you really feel the weight in your feet and you're really, really firm. And then repeat as a mantra, I am here, I am present, to get out of that flee mode. Now, do you feel foggy, overwhelmed, or totally unsettled, and you feel all the energy float out of your body, and you just feel tired or sometimes even super exhausted? Well, you're probably in faint mode. So, to get out of that, give yourself some love scoops. So move your hands around your body and wrap it up so you can give yourself all the goodness and love and energy to get out of that feed mode. So if you're overwhelmed and you really haven't got a clue what kind of fear you're experiencing, the 2 things that always work, either breathing or going for love as an answer. So with breathing, make sure you're breathing from the belly and that the way you're breathing out takes longer than breathing in. And if you go for love, just think of a loved one and really let yourself experience experience that feeling of love and immerse yourself in it. Discovering what your standard response to fear is and how it shows up in your body is very useful because you know what response to go for. And some people have a tendency, for example, to flee the scene, whereas others tend to fight more, and some people have different preferences depending on the situation. So it's very useful to see how fear shows up in your body and to practice one of the fear mouths so you're able to do that and respond. And if you notice fear coming up in that very moment, you're likely to also have the right response at hand. So the more you practice, the easier it gets to really recognize what is happening in your body and choose an appropriate embodied response. The experiment: next time you experience fear, figure out what's happening in your body and go for movement. Either wiggle, ooze, sumo, or love scoop yourself out of it. And in case you haven't got any space to move or it might be inappropriate, then just go for breathing or thinking of a loved one. Enjoy experimenting.